They're not sportscasters, this isn't a morning show, and they're not tour guides. They don't take you to a country, they cross rivers, ride camels, summit mountains, sleep in jungles, and take you 100 kilometers east of nowhere to embed you in the toughest endurance sport on the planet. This is the Adventure Racing World Series. Erik's been around so long, he raced Eco Challenge. Viv stepped out of film school right into the wilds. She keeps this show from going off the rails. Go with them. They don't know where they're going. Welcome to the Adventure Center, the nightly broadcast of the Adventure Racing World Series.
Well, the Adventure Racing World Series Adventure Center show kicks off here in Ireland 2016 at a very spectacular location, the Westport house.
We're here with all the teams. They just arrived on the coaches, and we have the behind the camera. The start is set up. The backdrop is this manor, and they're going to head off into the paddock, take a circle around town, and then head up into some muddy hills and straight out to the ocean and straight for the Atlantic. It's going to be fast-paced. Everybody's excited, but it's going to hopefully not be too rough on the weather, so they can get out on the Atlantic and paddle for 6 to 8 hours.
You know, it's a trick. I'd love it to be insanely rough for them because that's better adventure and drama for you guys. But unfortunately for us, it means it's harder to get the cameras out there. So we're hoping for a really nice balance between some epic adventure weather, but then not too crazy so that we can get the cameras out. So believe it or not, we're at the start of an adventure race. Here we are in Westport House in Ireland, and it's quite an amazing setting. And these adventure races are taking in some culture before they head out. So when you come to a place like this, is this kind of cool for you to see this kind of culture, you know, in a race like this? Is this why you do these races?
Not for the culture, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a part of the journey. Yeah, we want to discover all the culture, the landscape, and whatever I can see in Ireland. But it's the first time for us, so it's completely new.
All right, well, all the best. We'll see you at the start in a few minutes.
Yes.
We're just over with Vivian talking with a few teams. We're at the entry of Westport House, and we wanted to know, what did you think when you walked into this area, to this huge theater of an opening for the race?
Oh, we said there's no way they'll let racers in here.
And here we are.
Just what I thought.
Well, we're not going to let us in the house.
Yeah.
I suppose we're not dirty yet.
So what do you think? I mean, you got castles in the backdrop and big estates, and how is it launching yourself into this area? I mean, this is pretty exciting for me. The culture is amazing.
Yeah, this is our third, well, some of us, it's our third time over here in the UK, and we've come to know that they like to bring you through history, and it's a pretty amazing journey when you get to travel among, graves of William Wallace in Scotland, and travel across Wales through the castles, and it looks like it'll be just as spectacular here. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm ready to stop in a castle and just stay there, to be honest. Yeah.
Our plan on the second big paddle is to find a castle to sleep in for a couple of hours, maybe on an island if we can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're gonna get ready for the race start. It's gonna be pretty soon, and we're gonna bring the explosion of the teams out onto the paddock and into the castles and forest.
3, 2, 1, go!
Teams are just taking off from the start, and they're headed into town, into Westport, and they're going to go around the town, do a loop, and come back to this manor. And looks like nearly all of them are running at this point, and I think that we probably won't see many running once they head towards the kayak. We'll see.
So I'm up here on the roof of Westport House, and the racers are passing underneath me, and then they'll head off to catch Erik, who's going to film them in the woods. Then from there, there'll be a short sprint down to the kayaks, and we'll pick them up down there in a minute once I get off this roof.
We got a lot of teams coming through right now. They're made their way from town and heading to the kayak. They're one up into the lower hills here, and it's a bit muddy and slidey, and they make their way along, and they're trying to gain some time, get out on that water. They want to get on that water and back off that in 6 to 8 hours before it's dark. So they're pressing pretty good. Look at the mud these guys go through. They're really moving along these paths. They're trying to gain a lot of speed, but it's proven to be quite difficult in this mud. Going fast, but not too fast. It's too early to get hurt. That's some terrain right there. Wet. It's going to be a wet one all week.
So the weather has closed in very quickly since we left you. It's now raining as these guys prepare for a paddle out into what looks like nothing at the moment because the weather is just completely gone grey out here, which is sad because it's quite a spectacular scenery.
And nothing is going to lead into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast, west coast of Ireland. And behind us, the teams are prepping for all kinds of weather. The conditions are not the best and they could deteriorate. That's what we're hearing. So it'll be interesting to see what they think and what their preparations are as they put in here off this rocky area.
I see a lot of people have made the decision to put wetsuits on, which is pretty much an indication of how cold it's going to be out there. But we're now walking away from this football field, which is being used as a transition area. Common thing in adventure racing, we use these big spaces for these kind of transitions. And now we're going to
we have some of the teams are already headed into the water, so we're going to go out and take a look at the teams heading into the water as they venture off into nowhere. They got safety boats out there, several safety boats, and we can see.
If we swap over, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see, but right over there is the boats taking off. That will be the lead team heading out there. That's our drone in the shot there.
We got the teams heading out into the Atlantic now, Viv, and we got some of the media crew out there filming them as they head out. This is going to be a pretty dramatic section,
I'm not going to lie, this looks pretty bleak. I've got a puffy jacket on, a rain jacket, and these guys are looking pretty minimal, but that's the way it rolls here in adventure racing. It is basically the very edge that you can tow without killing yourself.
So are you guys, how prepared are you guys for this?
How prepared can you be? We are in the Speedos, so I think we're pretty much set to go.
So what's a really cool fact about this is where I'm standing didn't used to exist back in the 1700s. The house that we were just on, the Atlantic Ocean used to come all the way up to Westport House. And so these guys are coming down through land that was built by the Brown family that founded this area here. So they'll be walking across built land and heading out to the Atlantic.
The teams are headed out and we're going to try and catch them today out along the coast. They're going to touch some points hopefully, and we'll be able to get a hold of them and talk to them and see how the conditions are. But we're not going to see them for most of the day into the night. They're trying to get onto land and into the transition from here by a 6 to 8 hour paddle. So they're just rushing. They're just going against the dark. They've got probably about 7 or 8 hours of light left, and so it'll be pretty interesting. Are you guys pushing up against the dark right now? Are you trying to get to?
Yeah, and against the tide.
So what is it? How's the tide playing?
Well, we are going against the tide on the way out, and at the bottom, when we finish this paddle, we're going against the tide on the way in. So it's really not. It's probably the worst situation we could be in.
So it's the worst situation because that tide is going to do what?
It's against us.
So
it's going to go again. Yeah.
So you're paddling into it the whole time. Is that?
It's like paddling
how
upriver.
much more time does that take? 20, 30%?
Oh,
it could be. It depends how.
Well, it'll be faster in the narrower spots, so it'll be harder. It's like paddling upriver. So it'll be worse down at the bottom, and in between some of the islands, I think, out here.
So how long do you think this will take you?
We had planned on 9 to 10 hours, but that wasn't factoring in going against the tide.
9 to 10. I was thinking it was 6 to 8 by my calculations, but 9 to 10. Wow.
We have a special secret weapon, so maybe it'll only take us 4.
Oh yeah? What's your secret weapon?
Here.
Can you explain it to me?
Well, we have some tubing, and we're going to make our boats into one boat. Because we really like each other, and we don't want to get lost.
So you're creating a catamaran?
Not a catamaran, like a long 4-person
canoe. I see. You're going to connect them end to end.
Yeah.
Have you done this before?
Leanne has.
Well, we might stick around to watch these guys put together their mono kayak of turning two-person kayaks into a 4-person kayak. in order to, I believe, stay together and gain some speed. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out on the other end. We'll be certain to catch up with them. So the idea behind this is to get the two kayaks together, get this second kayak in the draft of the first kayak. This is much different than a lot of teams are doing. Although I see a team over here is doing the same concept but without rigid pulls. This team has got some strapping, of which they're literally loading the other kayak up on top. You see some really unique strategies to try and be efficient. I just wonder, and I'm curious about this, the amount of time it's taking them to do this, I wonder if it's really worth it, if they're going to save that much time. They've been here a lot longer than the other teams. The other teams are just launching. They're taking a long time to put this together. They might even probably have to fiddle with it along the way. Will it make a difference? We'll see later on in the race.
Good evening all. Just a bit of a race update as the teams start to approach Runa Point and rounding to go down the coast again. Swico have about a 1 kilometre lead from the rest of the pack, followed by 4 teams. Godzone, Izzy Adventure, ADGE and the Irish team Moxie. And then there's about another half K back to another group of teams which is led by the American team that have come through the pack reasonably well. So they've made good progress. And then there's actually 5 Irish teams. I'll see if I can remember them all. Rachel's Adventure, Dardingle, D Far, Big O and Irish Columbia. So they're all doing very, very well and up near the front of the pack at the moment. And then we have DSN, who were the early leaders. They've dropped back to 12th. And I'm a little bit concerned about the French team FMR. They were onto the water pretty early. They were up with the leaders early in the kayak, but then they actually stopped and had a pause behind one of the islands before hitting the open ocean, and they have now gone down to the coast and seem to be parked up there. So whether they have damage to boat or some other problem, I'm not sure at this stage, but no doubt someone will give you an update at some stage. And other than that, things seem to be going along pretty well.
I'm here in the kayak section on Runa Point, and the kayakers will be coming around here shortly. The weather's really picked up. The winds are pushing the seas over. It's cold, it's raining, and it's getting a bit treacherous, but not too treacherous for these adventure racers. They have the decision here if they want to get out of their kayaks and trek the rest of the kayak leg, or if they want to continue kayaking around the point, heading downwind on the west side of Ireland on the Atlantic seaboard. Coast Guard says it's okay. It will be their decision on how they feel and how competent they are. One team had some boat problems, and they've pulled out, and they're going to try and rehook up with the paddle on the other side. While teams coming along here will make that decision and keep going.
After 30 minutes kayaking, paddling, we had really trouble, and we have a hole in one of the kayaks. So we put the water out, and we try to find a solution with the organization. Yes, I think we have quite lost 2 of the members of the teammates, so it was a bit hard, but now we are waiting after the next step, because we want to do the full course and we want to do a good race, so we are still motivated.
We're gonna run a section of this instead of paddling, and then I'm not quite sure. I think we're gonna.
So all the teams will probably do this. So you're not.
Yeah, all the teams are going to do the same thing.
So not continue to paddle.
Yeah, exactly.
Conditions at the moment are tipping about a force 5, 21 to 24 knots. Sea state is increasing. The tide, we're past mid-tide, so sea states are awkward. There's a swell building, and visibility is right down between 1,000 and 2,000 yards. So one would say it's not nice. Okay.
So how was that paddle?
Oh, yeah, a bit challenging. Big sort of quartering swell, so I kept it interesting, but pretty cold.
I think it was a good decision for them to.
I think we basically just couldn't keep it going, because I just think the teams at the back are going to get caught in the dark in reasonably challenging to see. So that is a good call.
This is adventure racing, and these teams are going to be going 24 hours a day for the next 5 to 6 days along the coast of Western Ireland, and we're going to follow them all the way.
Thanks for watching the Adventure Centre. You can follow us every night 7 p.m. local time here on the AR World Series YouTube channel. Of course, more information including live tracking at arworldseries.com and tons of social media on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. See you tomorrow.